We're back here on the Midnight Circuit with another episode, and today we've got a great author coming on. She is the author of A to Z of the So Bad They're Good, the Bad and the Ugly horror films. And in just a moment, which you can find on Amazon, by the way, and in just a moment, we'll be talking to Beverly Price from Beverly's Horror Corner.
The darkest secrets lie deep at the bottom of the ocean. Join Yanni Hamburger, Edna Ville, as they comb through the macabre of Poseidon. From famous shipwrecks to modern-day ocean lore, you'll be swimming in dangerous tides. Board the ship on YouTube today.
And we're back here on the Midnight Circuit with Beverly from Beverly's Horror Corner. Good evening to you as we speak right now.
Evening.
And let's talk about what you do on Substack and just and your book for that matter too. We'll get to your book here in a second. What do you do here on Substack so everybody can find you?
I'm still relatively new to Substack, so I'm still finding my feet, but it is a combination of putting out what I find out about horror, films I've come across that I like and don't like, a little bit of my poetry, and just, like everybody, just random observations that we have related to the world around us.
Tell me what your book's all about here. Or tell everybody what your book's all about here, because it's a very interesting read.
Oh, thank you. So what I did was I was looking at films that are your camp classics, the films that are for one reason, then so they're so bad they're good. Then we've got the bad films that are 95% fail, but there's usually one thing that saves it, either an over-top actor, or the fact that the plot was something unique, or even just the location, something that saves it. And then there's the ugly, or what I call ugly films, whereas the films where I was like, although I often say, I've never made a film, so I'm always saying, somebody wants to make a film, and they made a film, and good for them. But these films weren't for me.
Well, I'd love to know what an example of your what you would consider an ugly horror film would be.
So this film has become a standard joke now within the book and within all these conversations that I have. So and it's called Drastic Shark. And the plot follows, as you'd expect from a title called Drastic Shark, art-dealing thieves whose artwork, they decide to move the artwork over a lake. They get attacked. The precious artwork falls to the bottom of the lake, and they're able to try and save it.
That is, yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, when you're rooting for the shark, there's the problem.
And the problem is, as well, as the shark isn't real enough for you to be on its side either. That is part of the problem.
Oh man, what got you into when was your first love of horror? When did you first found you to love the genre?
I'm a British child of the 80s, so that meant the video nasties was a big part of my childhood, to the point that, I was convinced that if I watched horror films, something bad would happen to me. It was so ingrained into my psyche. So I'm definitely not that, that meme of, I knew I was a horror fan when I saw The Exorcist at 3. That's definitely not me. But what I learned, though, is that I was watching horror. It was just maybe not always portrayed as that first.
Mm-hmm.
Again, being an 80s child, children's films were horrific. But what I was allowed to watch, though, and again, probably being British, was the Hammer horror films. And that was a big cornerstone in my love of horror films. The turning point was Ghost Watch. I don't know if you're aware of the BBC mockumentary.
Yes. And the main presenter didn't he just pass away like in the last year, I think, didn't he? I'm not.
Although I'm not that I'm aware of, but you may well be right.
But I do actually, yeah, and in the States that didn't come. I don't think we got to see it till probably the late 90s in the US.
Yeah, I mean, I was 8 at the time it came out, and I still don't remember that disclaimer at the beginning of the program saying that it wasn't real. And, within 10, 15 minutes, you are convinced because it's played by well-respected presenters in the news world. So there was no reason to believe that they'd be lying to you. And just that whole setup, which we've seen now with Late Night with the Devil, the fact that, you've got people ringing in, you've got what you think are the audience also interacting with the program in the way that you are.
You describe your work as horror fantasy satire in a way. Kind of explain that to people. Well, I guess I should rephrase that one. Explain that to people. What do you mean by your horror fantasy satire?
I think what I try to get, look, I'm not professionally trained as a journalist. I'm not professionally trained as a critic. So that's kind of more what I mean in the sense that I'm just a horror fan who has watched these films multiple times. And because a lot of them aren't well-known films, I had an interest in delving deeper into them and sort of finding out more about them and, maybe, especially in the cases of the bad and the ugly, why they ended up that way. Sometimes it is, interference from outside forces, or they just didn't have the budget, or they weren't really interested in making the film beyond money. And that's often a problem with these sort of films as well. There's no love for what they're actually doing.
The darkest secrets lie deep at the bottom of the ocean. Join Yanni Hamburger, Edna Vil, as they comb through the macabre of Poseidon. From famous shipwrecks to modern-day ocean lore, you'll be swimming in dangerous tides. Board the ship on YouTube today.
What is your favorite genre of horror?
Intellectual, your psychological horrors, Peeping Tom, Psycho, Die, My Darling. But in my heart, I know that my genre is just trash. Anything that's funny, anything that's, and not necessarily horror comedies, because that's a different thing. Yeah. They can be very hit and miss. I mean films that are there for the enjoyment factor, whether or not they're films like Gremlins or the Monster Squad, right through to films that are what we would now consider so bad they're good, like Troll 2. Those sort of films I'm more likely to gravitate to, especially when you've got a big group of friends. Yes, you could all sit and watch Silence of the Lambs, but you're going to sit there in silence, literally.
Yes, some of the cases you are. What are some of your favorite, maybe lesser known horror films?
One of the gems that I stumbled across is called Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell, aka Japanese Evil Dead. Oh. And there's several reasons. Yeah, so there's several reasons why I love this film. First off, you've got that Sam Raimi style of guerrilla editing, you got your slapstick, your stop motions, and stuff like that. Another benefit is it is literally just over an hour long. So, it doesn't take up a lot of your time. But what I found interesting when I was researching it is that the director, he spent 20 years making that film because he wanted to make it as good as he could, because it was his love letter to Evil Dead, and he was almost kind of waiting for the technology to catch up to his vision. And I love the fact that he spent that time making a film that he was proud of, and it is an amazing film at the end of the day as well.
Absolutely. That is actually, yes, I've seen a few of those. I love the Japanese horror, especially, the really gory Japanese horror. I don't know why, but um what about any recent horror films or books that have made your good list? Let's just put it that way.
That is a good question. Oh, as well as writing the A to Z of So Bad They're Good, the sequel, which I'm still toying with the idea of calling it Electric Boogaloo, but I'm also writing a book on wonderfully weird films. And speaking of Asian films, one of the films I'm going to add to that is a film called Versus, which is, it's a martial arts slash zombie slash, again, Evil Dead-esque film. Possibly a little bit too long, at over 2 hours long, but the insanity that's within that film, and the guy with the butterfly knife, because they don't have names, they're just known as, guy with butterfly knife. He just chews up the scenery so much, and when he comes back as a zombie and he's somehow also part frog, that just the group of us that are watching it, we love this film.
How about any books, any writings that you've recently enjoyed that you might want to share with everybody?
I recently read My Favorite Horror Movies, which is a collection of film essays by people who were in the business. And again, talking about the films that made them want to go into the business of horror. And obviously there's a lot of films that you'd expect to be in there. People are talking about their love of The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween. There are some deep cuts. I was very surprised to see Sleepaway Camp 2 and Happy Campers listed amongst all of these films. My favourite one, though, was one gentleman decided that his favourite horror film was the Bette Midler film Beaches, which when I first read that, I was like, no, surely he can't be that film. Yes, he did. I'd love to tell you the line that he used to describe Bette Midler singing, but it will probably get this video flagged. But it is an amazing description, and the book is brilliant, but it's worth it just for that.
Oh my!
Scathing talk about beaches of
he's
all films.
Something tells me he's not seen culture. But I want to go back to Hammer real quick because I am a Hammer nerd. What was your favorite Hammer horror, or do you have one even?
Again, there's always going to be a love for Dracula or the horror of Dracula and Frankenstein films. But I think a lot of the Hammer films, especially the later ones, get overlooked. I have quite a soft spot for films like Vampire Circus, how many films out there have vampires running a circus? It's such a unique premise. Does it completely pull it off? No, it doesn't. But it is still an enjoyable watch. I know, okay. But I liked it when they dipped their toe into the psychological horror as well, and they gave us some doozies. My favorite ones are either The Nanny with Betty Davis doing a whole hagsploitation thing, or Straight On Till Morning, which I think is such an underrated Hammer film. Oh, and of course, you can't not mention Curse of the Werewolf as well. Oliver Reed, one of his best performances as well.
No, I would actually agree. Straight On Till Morning is actually one of my favorite Hammer right there. So you nailed it right on the head with those. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of them really. Even now, did you get to watch the series, or was that maybe a little bit before your time? I know I've gone back on streaming services and watched it.
Yeah, so I've seen the first, because they did two different, didn't they? They had the Hammer House of Horror series, and then they did Hammer Mystery and Suspense. I've never seen the Mystery and Suspense one, but I have seen the Hammer Horror series. And again, there are some absolute belters in there as well. But from an anthology point of view, though, I always enjoyed Tales of the Unexpected.
That's I don't think we got that here in America, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I've seen that one. Can you explain a little bit what that's about, maybe for some of our American audiences who haven't seen it?
So it's actually based on the works of Roald Dahl, and it's from a lot of his stories from the book Kiss Kiss. So again, it's an anthology series. Each episode is a one-off. They're only half an hour long, so you don't have to spend a lot of time with them. The first three series are the best because they not only have Roald Dahl doing his Rod Sterling impression by introducing each episode, but they were based on his work. As the series got on, they were then taking sources from other people. Highlights I would recommend is, and I'm not going to give any twists away, would be Royal Jelly, on why you shouldn't feed your child bee jelly. And I can't know, the title of it is escaping me. I think it's called Leg of Lamb. And that is another very interesting murder mystery episode. Again, the early ones have that EC Comics type twist at the end. But again, as they got on, that became less and less an important part of the episodes.
As we start to wrap up here, I'll love, these are my favorite questions to ask every horror creator that comes on here. What is, other than just do it, what is the advice you would give somebody that maybe wants to go into horror writing, or even content creation for that matter? What would be like a big piece of advice you would give them?
I think especially being a female horror fan, content creator, you do get a lot of stick for being into that. Oh, can't you do something nice? Oh, you must be really a weirdo and all that sort of stuff. I would say just ignore those people. If it's what you love, then find people who also love it. They will support you, and just ignore the people that don't want to help you.
What's your future when it comes to Beverly's Horror Corner? Are we going to see you expand to maybe YouTube or obviously you've got the next book coming out, like you've already said. Uh, Tell us what the future holds for you.
I'm still debating about going onto YouTube for two reasons. One, I'm very self-conscious about the way that I look. The more I'm doing these, the more comfortable I'm getting. But unfortunately, years of bullying have left their mark. But I think I enjoy the writing side of things more anyway. So I may focus more just on the books and then doing interviews like this as a way of talk. Because it is you then just stare at the camera. It's nice to have somebody to interact with, to bounce off. So unless I got myself some sort of co-host, but I think I'd keep doing these sort of interviews for now anyway, as putting my face out there.
Maybe one day do a like a horror version of I don't know if y'all had it over there, but Mystery Science Theater 3000. You just sit back and make fun of all the bad horror movies.
Not sure how my friends would feel if I actually started recording them while we watch these terrible films.
You never know. I mean, I think you might find an audience.
Probably bad enough that I've named them in the book.
Well, speaking of your book and of your Substack, as always, we'd like to know where everybody can find you, extra social media, that sort of thing. I'll give you the floor. Whatever you want to promote, go right ahead.
Yeah, so the first book is out. It's available on Amazon. It's the A to Z of the So Bad They're Good, the Bad and the Ugly horror films. As you said, I'm on Substack as Beverly's Horror Corner. I'm also on Blue Sky as well. Again, Beverly's Horror Corner. Those tend to be the places that I am most active.
All right. Well, Beverly, we appreciate you coming on. And as we always like to say for everybody, you have an open invitation. Anytime you want to come back, maybe we can, spend a few more minutes roasting a few movies that
Yeah.
you and I have both have on our It's So Bad It's Good list. I'd love to hear that. I know you're coming on another podcast that will be out here soon that I'm co-hosting. So we'll definitely, I know we'll be roasting a few of those on there. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to do that with you and spend a lot more time hanging out with a lot of the great people that we hang out with here on Substack. And I appreciate you for coming on. And once again, we thank you for joining the Midnight Circuit.
No, and thank you for having me.
All right, let's see.